Back in elementary school, I took in this poor little girl. I watched her grow up, watched the ugly duckling transform into a swan. But over time, I began to realize something was changing. Something buried deep inside her was slowly becoming something else entirely. I barely remember how it all began, but I know taking in Chloe was a complete accident. It was one of those beautiful afternoons, and I was walking through Lincoln Park not far from my house. That's when I saw her, this scrawny, grimy little kid standing near a trash can by the north pond, standing on her tiptoes and digging through the garbage like her life depended on it. She was wearing busted-up sandals and clothes so full of holes it was like she was sewn into rags. She was so thin, she looked like a stick figure. A strong gust of wind could have knocked her over. After rummaging for a while, she finally pulled out a half-eaten, dirt-caked granola bar and was just about to shove it into her mouth. "Hey," I called out, stopping her. The kid jumped like she'd been shocked, then slowly turned to look at me. Her eyes wide and desperate locked onto mine. She didn't say a word, just pointed one bony, claw-like finger at her open mouth, silently begging for food. I couldn't stand it. I'm a total sucker for this kind of thing. I pulled a pack of cookies out of my pocket and held it out. But instead of taking it, the kid flinched, refusing to touch it, and gestured for me to toss it on the ground. So I did. After devouring the cookies in seconds, she started following me. She kept exactly 5 paces behind, matching me step for step like a shadow. I turned and glared at her a few times, hoping she'd get the hint. But she didn't stop. A mess of tangled hair covered half her face, but one large, startlingly clear eye peeked out, pleading. I sighed. I was powerless against that look. "Are you homeless or something?" I asked. She nodded, then immediately shook her head. That just confused me more. "So, why are you following me?" Her voice came out as a dry rasp. Her lips were chapped and cracked. After a long, stuttering pause, a few words squeezed out. "I can work." I didn't really get the connection between following me and offering to work, but it was clear what she wanted. She was trying to latch on to me, maybe looking for someone to protect her. I crooked my finger and beckoned her closer. "All right, fine. From now on, you're with me. I'll look out for you." She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I took her hand. It was all bone and impossibly small, and tried to ignore the sour smell clinging to her. I led her back to my family's house in the suburbs. The moment Maria, our housekeeper, saw us, she let out a shriek. "Leo, what in God's name did you bring home now?" I held up the kid's hand. "This is my new recruit. I found them right on cue." The kid repeated her mantra, "I can work." Adding another plate to the table wasn't a big deal, so she stayed. First thing I did was take her to the bathroom for a shower and gave her a clean set of my clothes to wear. After she cleaned up, she looked completely different. A pale, gaunt face and thin arms peeked out from my oversized shirt and pants. Her hair was still long, hiding half her face. Her hands, covered in faint scars, nervously clutched the hem of the shirt. That one visible eye peeked shyly at me. I scratched my head, then my back, and decided to share some snacks from the pantry. The kid was small, but wow, she could eat. At dinner that night, she polished off 2 huge plates of pasta all by herself. Maria watched her, clicking her tongue in amazement. "You're a delicate-looking little thing, but you eat like a linebacker." "What's your name, honey?" "Chloe," she mumbled. Then, after a pause, she added something else that confused me. "Honey," I repeated, frowning. "Pandy, like a panda bear." Maria gave me a sharp look, then turned back to Chloe with a sad expression. "Oh, honey, so that's it. You're a girl, aren't you? Where's your mom?" Chloe looked down. "Mom had a boy. She didn't need me anymore." Maria gently coaxed the whole story out of her, asking soft, patient questions. Then she pulled me aside into my room and shut the door behind us. "Leo," she said quietly, "I think she's telling the truth. It's a heartbreaking story. What should we do? Should we let her stay? If not—" She hesitated, voice softening. "I can call social services. At least they'd find a place for her." But I wasn't even thinking about that. I was stuck on one thing. She's a girl, but aren't girls supposed to be all dressed up and pretty like princesses? Maria sighed. "Oh, Leo, most people in the world are just regular folks. There aren't that many princes and princesses out there." I sort of understood. I nodded. Just then, we realized the little kid was standing right outside the door. Before I could say anything, she dropped to her knees, like she was about to press her forehead to the floor. "No, no, don't," I panicked, stuttering. You don't want me, she whispered, her voice cracking. No, that's not it. We do. We want you. Get up. I rushed to the door to pull her up, but she was stiff, refusing to move. Then, on some crazy impulse, I dropped to my knees too, like I had to return the gesture. Maria just stood there, wringing her hands, sighing. What are you two doing? We couldn't find any records for the girl, so when we registered her for school, we gave her a new name, Chloe. Chloe was a real workhorse. She was always doing chores, sweeping, doing laundry, cooking. She even learned to knit. From morning till night, she stayed busy like she was afraid of being still. If she kept it up, Maria joked she'd be out of a job. I figured the best thing was to get her into school with me. The tuition for the private elementary school wasn't cheap, but I had my own money. More than enough. I covered all her FEs. I took care of everything for her: food, clothes, a place to live. Anything I had, I shared. After school, she'd always trail behind me, clutching the snacks I gave her. Her face was so small and thin, it made her eyes look enormous. The backs of her hands were crisscrossed with fine, pale scars. She always kept her hair swept over the left side of her face. Her eyes darted nervously whenever we were out. At first, even the honk of a car horn would make her jump. She only relaxed when she was near me. She didn't talk much, mostly just clutched the little stuffed fox I'd bought her. And whenever I teased her, she'd just look up at me with those wide, innocent eyes. She was terrified of thunderstorms. The sound of thunder was her nightmare. She couldn't escape it. The moment she heard that first low rumble, she'd scramble into my room, curl into a ball in the corner, arms around her knees, shaking. Her sobs were barely audible. I couldn't bear to see her like that. Like I said, I'm a sucker. Chloe, come on, I'd say gently. Get in the bed. She'd slowly crawl up on the mattress, curling up at the edge, leaving a whole chasm between us. I'd roll my eyes. Chloe, move over. How are you gonna sleep like that? Inch by inch, she'd scoot closer, until finally, her tiny hands rested gently on my stomach. Her clear eyes reflected my face. The corners were red, tear tracks still fresh. I'd take her cold little hands and feet in mine, yawn, and say, okay, no more crying. I'm here. I've got you. It's all going to get better from now on. A few minutes later, I felt something wet on my cheek. What are you doing? I whispered. Leah, my dog. Buddy, she said timidly. He used to lick my face when he wanted to be close to me. Buddy, she nodded, her voice sad. My little yellow dog. I took care of him, but then he was gone. What happened to him? Did he run away? They split him. Mom took half, and Dad took the other half. She paused. At night, when they were asleep, I'd sneak out and gather up his bones. I built a little mound of dirt and buried him there. She went quiet for a moment, then added, I made a lot of little mounds like that for frogs, butterflies, spiders I found on the road that weren't moving anymore. Grown-ups always say you should be laid to rest. I wanted them to be at peace. Then she looked up at me with those same bright, painfully clear eyes. I figured, maybe someday when I'm not moving anymore, a kind person will find me and bury me, just like I buried the little animals. She would talk about heavy things in such a cheerful, matter-of-fact way that I never knew how to respond. All I could do was let out a long sigh and hum quietly. She blinked a few times and finally drifted off to sleep, though tears still silently escaped the corners of her eyes. Chloe was like a newborn animal. Even in her sleep, she kept a tight grip on one of my fingers as if it was her lifeline. Well, so much for my sleep tonight. Damn mouth. Always asking questions. Now look at you two broken up to even think about sleeping. My sympathy and pity for Chloe made me double down on taking care of her. I bought her any snack or toy that caught my eye. I'm not great at comforting people. Honestly, my go-to solution for her sadness was junk food and occasionally a hug to help her sleep. At home, Chloe would just stare at me with those big, curious eyes. She wouldn't be doing anything, just watching. I had no idea what was so fascinating. When I'd poke her cheeks, which were finally starting to get a little round, she'd sometimes suck on her thumb. She'd grab my hand and hug it to her chest like it was a stuffed animal, refusing to let go even if I offered her a real toy. In a soft, childish voice, she'd whisper, hold me, cuddle, don't go. My heart would just melt. Fine, whatever you want. She hated wearing dresses because of all the little scars on her body. She thought they made her look ugly. Maria and I took her to a dermatologist a few times and got some cream for her hands, but the rest we had to let heal on their own. She was terrified of being rejected because to her, rejection meant abandonment. So, as a kid, Chloe was always incredibly well-behaved and obedient. She never cried or threw tantrums. She just loved to follow me around, her hair in two little pigtails that bounced from side to side like a penguin when she ran. She'd always insist that I hold her hand to cross the street on the way to school, and if a classmate stopped to talk to me, she'd hide behind my back, clutching my shirt and peeking out shyly. For Chloe, I was giving it my all. Money, effort, everything I had. And anything I didn't have, I'd find a way to get. I was a damn good big brother. Good food, plenty to eat, no shortage of snacks and toys. Eating well, sleeping well, and she shot up like a weed. The results were amazing. Chloe slowly became more cheerful. Her face grew brighter and plumper, making her look like a little princess. She started getting along with her classmates. She wasn't so timid anymore, and her grades skyrocketed, but I still felt like she was a bit of a goofball, because if she wasn't, why would she keep up her weirdest, most annoying habit? I'd wake up in the morning to a face full of drool. That wet, sticky feeling on my hands was enough to give me goosebumps. Chloe, you big goof. You slobber all over my face every single day. What is your deal? I'm talking to you, Chloe. Don't sit there. You're going to break my ribs. Stop licking me. After finally prying her off me, she'd sit on a wooden chair, her eyes welling up with tears, looking at me like I was some heartless jerk who'd just dumped her. Chloe, what are you looking at? I'd ask, getting up to put on a jacket. Her dark eyes would dart around nervously before she said in a choked voice, "Lo, the kids at school say I'm your girlfriend. They're talking nonsense. What do a bunch of little idiots know? They just like to make stuff up." I looked at her seriously. Do you think I act like that? She twisted her hands nervously, her head down but her eyes looking up at me. Leo, do you? Or don't you? Do I? What? I blinked. No, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Remember, you are you. You don't belong to anyone. Got it? I understand, Leo. I walked over, intending to pat her head, but Chloe flinched instinctively, covering her head with her hands. Realizing it was just me, she awkwardly straightened up. I settled for patting her shoulder instead. Tomorrow, I'll have Maria talk to your teacher. Those kids spreading rumors are out of control. If they have so much energy, they should go join the track team instead of picking on a little girl. Chloe didn't say anything else. She just gave me a goofy smile. Two little dimples appeared on her cheeks, and she made a little huffing sound that I had to admit was pretty darn cute. Once she hit middle school, it was like Chloe's brain fully activated, wiping away any trace of her former goofiness. She was actually a year older than me, but since she'd started school late, we ended up in the same grade in high school. I didn't go to a private high school. My mediocre grades landed me in a decent public one. Chloe, on the other hand, with her stellar middle school exam scores, got into the best magnet school in the city. The contrast made me feel like a total NPC. In high school, she started to mature. Her still youthful face already showed the promise of the stunning woman she would become. And her personality, it grew much more composed in a lot of ways. It's true what they say, girls change so much. The little girl who used to trail behind me clutching a stuffed animal had now blossomed into an elegant young woman. All I could say about it was a resigned, she's all grown up, but Chloe was still terrified of thunder. It was like her kryptonite, a fear she could never shake, even as she got older. Because of that, I didn't let her live in a dorm. Her bedroom was right across the hall from mine, and we usually left our doors unlocked just in case a storm rolled in and she needed to seek refuge. The thing was, she'd often sneak in when I was half asleep. If there wasn't any thunder, she'd say she was afraid of the dark. If there was thunder, she'd say she was afraid of the thunder. Every time I tried to make her leave, her eyes would well up and she'd beg me not to kick her out, promising she'd be quiet. And since I'm a total sucker, I never had the heart to actually force her to go. The result? I'd wake up in the middle of the night with what felt like a super soft, life-size doll curled up against me, smelling faintly of her floral body wash, a scent that was annoyingly very pleasant, and I'd feel something moving against my face, making it all wet and itchy, causing my facial muscles to twitch. It got to the point where I could yell at her in my sleep, "Chloe, what are you doing? Are you going to sleep or not?" She'd gasp, startled. After a long moment of silence, she'd finally dare to speak. "I'm sleeping." Her voice would be as quiet as a mosquito's buzz. But at least she'd stop her weird shenanigans for the rest of the night. This happened a few more times. It felt like she was testing my limits. I got so fed up that I started locking my door, but the next night, Chloe was knocking, crying about being scared of the dark, wailing so loudly you'd think I was murdering someone in there. After all these years, she knew me inside and out. She knew I'd never truly get rough with her. The worst I'd ever done was a light swat on her hand. Now that she was older, that didn't scare her at all. The second I cracked the door open, the fake crying would stop and she'd dive into my room like a running back. There was no stopping her. I'd resist, struggle, scold, get angry, even beg, but to Chloe, who knew my every weakness, it was all just a game. She was a master manipulator. She could read my face and know exactly how to respond. She had even started making promises she had no intention of keeping. I was completely outmatched. It was maddening, and she still wasn't satisfied. She'd demand I at least show some emotion. "What? You steal my space? You steal my pillow? You want me to sing you a lullaby? And now you want me to be happy about it? That would be nice." Oh, get out. Chloe's magnet school was right next to my public high school. Both were close to home, just a mile walk. She got out half an hour later than me, so I almost always ended up waiting for her by the school gate. I had to. If I went home without her, she'd start her dramatic wailing at night, giving me a massive headache. Her normal speaking voice was clear and melodious, like a songbird. But when she wailed, she sounded like a banshee. And she had the lung capacity to back it up. It was terrifying. Out in public, close personality. Outside the house was like night and day. She had this cool, slightly distant vibe about her that honestly looked pretty impressive from afar. Apparently, a bunch of guys had tried to ask her out, but she'd turned every single one of them down. Some even got sneaky and slipped love letters into her backpack. One day, she accidentally pulled one of those letters out of her bag. We just stared at each other, both of us frozen, faces full of shock. I couldn't believe it. She was getting romantic attention and wasn't even trying to hide it from me anymore. The nerve, the audacity. As the saying goes, an older brother is like a father. And okay, I wasn't technically her brother, and we weren't related by blood, but after all these years of friendship, I was at least half a father figure, and now my little girl was about to get snatched away by some random punk. Of course, I was heartbroken. It felt like my daughter was being stolen from me by some jerk. It's enough to make a father weep. Wait, I can explain, she blurted out. She was smart enough to slap a hand over my mouth before I could say anything. Some creep put it in my bag. I didn't accept it. I pried her hand off my face. "I believe you. I believe you. Now, let me see it. What's it say?" "No way, Leo Miller. It wasn't written to you. Why would you read it?" I puffed out my cheeks, pretending to be angry. "How dare you speak to your father like that? Just pretend it's for me, okay? It's not like I've ever gotten one. Let me have this. Hand it over or you're not getting dinner tonight." She crossed her arms and gave me a full-blown defiant glare. "Get lost. Since when are you my dad? Always sticking your nose in things. Pretend it's for me. You're such a clown, Leo. And if you don't feed me," she added, "I'll just howl all night until you go insane." While saying that, she ripped the letter into tiny shreds and tossed them right into a nearby trash can. I gave her a theatrical shake of the head. "What? A shame?" I sighed. "What are you shaming about?" "Shame on your own," she snapped. I just kept shaking my head. Such a foul-mouthed young lady. Then she hit me with her signature move, a brutal twisting pinch on my arm that made me yelp. "You're always making fun of me. What about you, huh? No one's confessing their love to you, are they?" I waved my hands in surrender. I'd rather not say." So that's a no." She grinned and twisted again. "Ow. Okay. You're right. No, nobody. Stop." A triumphant smirk appeared on her lips. "Good. With your garbage grades, if you don't start trying to pull them up, the only university you'll be attending is the university of your couch." I rubbed the fresh bruise on my arm, already feeling defeated. "Fine, then I won't go to college. I've got some money saved up. If I don't get married and don't have kids, I can probably make it last my whole life. What about me?" "You?" I looked at her like she just cursed my ancestors. "What? You planning to mooch off your old man for the rest of your life? Uh-huh, you did it again, she shrieked, pinching me hard. What am I, a bonus level? Okay, I'm sorry, sis. Please stop. Later, I sat at the dinner table, staring mournfully at the purple marks on my arm, while the culprit happily devoured her meal. A wave of bittersweet sorrow washed over me. Chloe was getting more beautiful by the day, bright eyes, perfect teeth, flawless skin, and delicate features. But she also talked with her mouth full, and while doing that, she reached over and stole a freshly peeled shrimp right off my plate. I protested. She pinched me again. I surrendered. The sweet, kind-hearted, obedient little Chloe I knew had been replaced by Chloe, the legendary tyrant of the pinch. Some people are alive, but already dead inside. Dead from injustice. My grades were awful by senior year, a complete dumpster fire. In a class of 1,000 students, I ranked around 700th. The year before, you had to be in the top 600 to get into even a decent state university. I tried. I really did. But the second any teacher started talking, I'd be asleep, especially in math. My teacher couldn't talk fast enough to keep up with the speed at which I could close my eyes. Chloe and I were total opposites. Her grades were god tier. Our living room wall was practically wallpapered with her academic awards, ranking top 10 in her entire school. Just a casual Tuesday for her, but her luck? Absolutely cursed. In 10th grade, she competed in the National Physics Olympiad and placed 51st. Only the top 50 got a pass on college admissions, basically guaranteeing a spot in a top university. She missed it by 1 place. She sulked for half a day. I celebrated for half a day. That celebration ended the second she heard me laugh and pinched me into submission. In 11th grade, she gave it another shot. Again, 51 Street Place. Still no guaranteed admission. This time, I didn't laugh, still got pinched. Why? Because she was in a bad mood, and apparently the sight of me was annoying. Me, man-face palming in real time. Even without the free pass, Chloe's regular grades were more than enough for the prestigious Redwood University. The competition was just her shortcut. She hardly seemed to study, yet her math skills were outrageous. She barely reviewed vocab, yet remembered English words instantly. Chemistry? She could just derive formulas from scratch. She was just built different. Once her own college apps were done, she started tutoring me every single night. All 6 subjects. Even though one of her AP subjects was different from mine, she just read the textbook for a few days, Googled some stuff, and mastered it. Just like that, the gap between her and me? Like standing at the base of Mount Everest and looking up at the summit, she'd break down problems that gave me anxiety sweats like they were nothing, still have time to assign me homework, and if I dared not do it, she'd smack my palms with a ruler. Then she upgraded, bought a 3-foot wooden dowel. From that day on, I became a model student. I loved homework. Under her constant guidance, I went from being a hopeless mess to basically a toddler in school again. Meanwhile, her patience got shorter by the day. Sometimes she'd just stare at me, completely baffled, like she couldn't believe how dumb a person could actually be. In all her years of academic brilliance, I was her only failure. Yet somehow, miraculously, Chloe pulled my grades up. From 600th to 500th, then 400th, then 300th, until, in my final SATs, I ranked 99th in school. Final score? 1,450. Enough to get into a decent public university. I could finally breathe. It was all thanks to General Chloe. She was the MVP. I was just the guy who got carried. Chloe scored a 1,580, third in the entire state. Redwood University called her before the official scores were out. She already had her major picked. She even filled out my college applications. I didn't know what to study or where to go, so she took the reins. Over the summer, she tutored kids. I got a job at a fried chicken joint. One night, she walked into my shop to order food. Our eyes met. We smiled. While the manager wasn't looking, I turned her $9 combo into a ridiculous feast, piled it high with chicken like it was royalty level. We ate till we were stuffed, and she took the rest home. In a word, shameless. That summer, I opened a bank account under her name and deposited about $20,000 into it. Her scholarship money, competition prize money I'd saved, plus the allowance I'd quietly set aside for her over the years. She didn't want to take it, but after a very stern lecture from me she did. I reluctantly accepted it. She was an adult now. She needed to live her own life. Still, I found myself starting to pull away from her on purpose. She could sense that something was off, but she didn't say anything. Time flew by, and before I knew it, it was her first day of college. I drove her to the gates of Redwood University, fussing the entire way. I kept worrying about whether she'd eat enough, stay warm, or get enough sleep. I worried about everything. But eventually, it was time to say goodbye. Chloe kept her head down, silent. Just as I was about to leave, she suddenly grabbed my arm tightly, like she had finally worked up all the courage in her body. "Can we rent an apartment, Leo? I don't want to live in the dorms. I won't see you if I live in the dorms. I want to be together." I tried to make light of it with a joke. "Come on, you're a grown-up now. What's next? You get married and want me to live with you too?" Gently but firmly, I pried her hand off my arm. "Look, if you need anything, just text me. My university isn't that far from here. What are you so worried about?" I gave her a reassuring pat on the head. She opened her mouth to say something, but I cut her off before she could. "I'm going now. See you around." I waved and walked away. She just stood there, completely still. When I got into the Uber, I looked back and there she was, still rooted to the spot, her hair falling over her face, standing there like an abandoned child. Only when I saw a student volunteer in a red shirt come over to help her with her luggage did I finally feel a little relief. I gave the driver my destination, and we pulled away. Later that day, after I'd finished unpacking everything in my own dorm room, I lay down on my bed. My phone kept buzzing, non-stop, with messages from Chloe. I stared at the 99+ notification icon for a long time before I finally typed 4 words. "Okay, good night," she replied right away. I didn't check it. I set my phone aside, closed my eyes, and tried to fall asleep. But a heavy feeling sat in my chest. My mind spun and raced until all my thoughts faded into one long, exhausted sigh. I didn't fall asleep until late, and when I did, my dreams were restless, broken, scattered. Scenes that somehow stitched themselves together into something I couldn't forget. I dreamed of my mother, then my father. They were screaming, throwing blame at each other for their affairs. After the divorce, I was caught in the middle, a burden neither of them wanted to carry. Their marriage, a cold union between 2 powerful families, hadn't created a child of joy, just a continuation of their resentment. The court gave my father custody, but my stepmother, she was cruel from the beginning. "A little animal like you," she told me, "unloved and unwanted, should have been drowned in a toilet at birth." Then she'd pause, sneering. "No, that'd be too messy. You should just find a rope and do everyone a favor." I thought that if I just kept my head down, if I endured it, my father would eventually show me some love. I waited. 2 years passed. What I got instead was a new baby half-brother and even worse, abuse. I tried going back to my mother, but she had a new family now. She held a baby boy in her arms, and the way her face lit up with a warm, sweet smile. It was the same smile my father now gave to his new son, a smile that was never meant for me. When she saw me, she frowned. "Don't upset my baby," she warned. I nodded, feeling like a sewer rat greedily trying to soak up the warmth of someone else's joy. "Lo, I'm sorry," she said, her voice cold. "But you're just an extra. I can't give you a mother's love. You're not the child I wanted. You've seen enough. Go now. I'll pay child support every month. Go back to your father and don't bother my new family again." I walked home in a daze and collapsed that night with a high fever. I burned up for a full day and night, nearly going into shock before they finally took me to the hospital, probably just scared I might die on them. I spent 3 days there. No one came to visit me. I was the extra, and in that cold, sterile room, something inside me cracked. I had a moment of clarity. If this was how life worked, then I wanted money. There were people who cared about appearances more than anything. People like that are terrified of their dirty secrets getting out. For powerful families, reputation is everything, often more than life itself. So I made a scene. A loud, relentless, humiliating scene. I screamed. I threatened. I didn't stop until I got what I wanted, a settlement of $3 million and a condo downtown. My future was secured. The price? I just pretended I didn't have a family anymore. From that moment on, we were strangers. I used the money for school and living expenses. I hired Maria, kind, honest Maria from a housekeeping agency. And eventually, I found Chloe and raised her. When I first saw Chloe, it wasn't just pity, I felt it was recognition. I saw myself in her eyes. By helping her, wasn't I also helping that lost little boy I used to be? But the difference was I'd had leverage. I could threaten, demand, secure enough to survive. Chloe had nothing. But now she was growing up, becoming more brilliant every day. And the more she shone, the more I felt dull, mediocre, plain. I know what I am. A rat spends its life crawling through dark sewer pipes. A fox runs wild across vast open fields. This isn't a fairy tale. The higher she climbed, the more I felt like a burden. Dead weight she'd have to carry. People leave their less successful partners all the time. I couldn't afford to risk that. I didn't want my fate to rest in anyone's hands again, not even hers. The world is huge. I want to crawl out and see it with my own eyes. So this whole love thing, it's better left behind. I don't even know what love really is. How can I promise it to someone else? Somewhere in my dream, Maria appeared again. Her life hadn't been easy either. A single mother from a rural town, she gave everything to raise her daughter. She came to the city to work as a housekeeper just to save a little money for her girls' future. Her daughter eventually settled in the city and had a son of her own. Maria wanted to quit to help raise her grandson, but she couldn't bear to leave us. So she traveled back and forth between the two homes until we graduated high school. In her free time, she'd light up with pride, showing me pictures of her grandson. Her old face would smooth with joy as she smiled like a proud peacock. You know, she'd say, for us country folk, we don't have much, but we can still live happy lives. When you get to be 50, 60 years old, all you really want is to have your grandkids around you. No matter how hard life is, when you come home and hear a little one call you grandpa or grandma, well, that makes everything worth it. You can't buy that with all the money in the world. I gave her a big check for her grandson's college fund. She tried to refuse, but I wouldn't let her. She took my hand and squeezed it with that warm smile. Leo, you're a good boy. You have a good heart. And that little Chloe? She's a wonderful girl. You two together. It's like something out of a storybook, growing up side by side. That's real. That's a real foundation. I just laughed it off, but the more I denied it, the more she insisted. She just wanted to see me find a happy ending. In that dream, tears began to fall from my eyes, quiet, uninvited. They soaked my pillow until they slowly dried. But pillows dry, tears don't flow back. Just like the past. You can never go back. The past is like a constellation of starry points, streaking through your mind like meteors. And as they pass, somehow, you realize you've grown up. It's only when you're older that you see the stories, the fairy tales. They're all lies. The beauty never marries the poor beast. The prince never ends up with the destitute Cinderella. It's all fake. I started deliberately giving Chloe the cold shoulder. At first, she'd text me about everything: waking up, going to class, leaving class, what she was eating. But when my replies shrank to single words, sent half a day later, she got the hint. Her messages slowed down. Then, one Friday night, she sent a meme followed by a tentative question. Leo, are you seeing someone? I saw the message and made the decision to cut things off for good. A quick, clean break is better than dragging out something slow and painful. Yeah, it's getting serious, I typed back. A long time passed before she replied. Dating someone? Yeah, found someone I really like. She went silent. 5, maybe 6 days passed, but the following Saturday, she suddenly messaged me again, asking if we could meet. I was going to refuse, but she insisted. She said it was just a way to say a final goodbye to the past. I understood what she meant. Dragging it out wasn't doing either of us any good. So I agreed. The farewell was set to happen in the living room of a secluded lake house. She told me it belonged to a college friend who let her borrow it. She was wearing a white blouse and a long skirt. Her makeup was flawless, and she had a small flower pinned in her hair. She looked serene, beautiful. She'd prepared a feast, a whole table full of impressive dishes that smelled amazing. But I had no appetite. Chloe kept watching me, this wide, almost predatory smile on her face. It was unnerving. Something felt off. I didn't dare touch the red wine she poured. I was afraid she'd added something. Halfway through the meal, she pulled out a small red gift box from her purse. Her eyes looked a little red. Leo, she said, I'm happy you found someone. And I've decided to accept someone else's proposal too. I'm going to wear the ring he bought for me. She opened the box. Inside was a pair of silver rings. I sat there silent for a long time. My throat was tight. That's great. Really? She pressed, voice sharp, eyes locked on mine like she was searching for something. I couldn't hold her gaze. I looked down at my plate like some stray dog. Yeah, good. Well, Leo, she said softly, thank you for all these years of taking care of me. It's a shame our paths are diverging. She raised her wine glass. I felt compelled to raise mine too, and I drank. She acted heartbroken. Then she stood up and walked slowly toward the heavy front door of the house. Her back was to me, her head bowed. Her shoulders were shaking, like she was secretly wiping away tears. Her sobs grew louder. I sat in silence, just staring at the table. Then something started happening. A strange heat bloomed in my stomach. My vision blurred. The image of Chloe across the room split in two. It's so hot. What did you make me drink? I tried to stand, stumbled, caught myself on the table panting. She spun around, her eyes red. She looked surprised but quickly composed herself and walked toward me slowly. What's happening? I gasped. I don't know. Her voice wavered, touched with a sob. She pressed herself against my arm, her soft body making it hard to focus. I tried to push her away. My limbs were so weak. The wine. There's something wrong with the wine. Oh my God, my friend gave me that wine. I had no idea. What do we do? Her hands clamped tightly onto my arm, holding me in place. Leo, are you okay? She whispered, her breath warm on my ear. I was burning up, about to explode. Chloe, go check the living room. Maybe there's an antidote or something. She let go and started rummaging through cabinets. Before I could catch my breath, she tossed something small and black onto the floor. Then another, then a third. I blinked. What the hell are those? Did you buy them in bulk? Without even looking at me, she said, tasers. I felt sick. My heart sank. Chloe, maybe you should check the kitchen? She didn't answer. Just walked silently into the kitchen. The moment she disappeared, I forced myself up and hobbled as fast as I could toward the front door. I reached it, grabbed the handle, and twisted. It wouldn't turn, of course. My heart went cold. I slumped against the heavy door, slid down to the floor in defeat. Chloe was already standing in the living room again, just a few feet away. One hand over her mouth, in the other, one of the tasers. Her eyes wide with fox helplessness. Is the door stuck again? It's always breaking. I told my friend to fix it, but she's so lazy. What are we going to do, Leo? Are we trapped in here? I knew what she was doing. I gave up trying to escape. Instead, I had to beg for mercy. I had to tell the truth. Chloe, I'm sorry. I don't have a girlfriend. I made it up. I took a breath. The words spilled from me. It's because I've been useless my whole life. I need someone to force me to study, but I'm always first in line for dinner. I'm lazy. I'm almost 20 and I've accomplished nothing. Just floating. I feel pathetic. I don't think I deserve you. I'm sorry. I was too scared to accept how you felt. I'm a coward. My heart burned. I was shaking, miserable. It felt like both fire and ice. She stood frozen, then walked slowly toward me, knelt down, and wrapped her arms around me. Held me tight. Her voice trembled. How could you say that, Leo? Whether you're poor or rich, smart or foolish, brave or cowardly in my eyes, you're one of a kind. You're you. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. No one has the right to ask you to. All those famous people, billionaires, successful ones, they're just people. They have nothing to do with me. But you, Leo, you're different. In my heart, you've always been my moon. The one I've always loved, always wanted, always hoped to have. I was stunned. Couldn't speak. She gently licked away the tears from my cheeks, tears I hadn't even realized had fallen. But just as I was about to say something back, zap, a sharp electric shock exploded through my body. It hit my brain like lightning. I was being electrocuted so badly I nearly started breakdancing on the floor. Damn it, Chloe, your stupid taser's still on. I'm gonna get launched into orbit. We ended up getting together. The first thing she did, she confiscated my phone and demanded all my passwords. She combed through everything, confirming that the new girlfriend was just a made-up lie. Then she lectured me for 3 days straight. I almost wasn't allowed to eat dinner. After we made up, she told me she never imagined I'd push her away for something as ridiculous as feeling insecure. She said I was one of a kind, though not in a good way. On the second day together, we went apartment hunting. By the third day, we moved in. By the fifth, she was demanding I buy her a promise ring. She acted aloof, pretending not to care, saying it was just a test, but her fingers trembled. She spread them wide, just to make it easier for me to slide the ring on. Those silver rings from the lake house, borrowed from a friend whose family owned a jewelry store. All part of her elaborate ruse to trap me. Our life together was simple, sweet. We rarely fought, and when we did, we made up fast, both terrified of hurting the other. Everything was perfect, except my back. Every night, she'd toss her head and say, "All right, let's go to the bedroom." It was going to be the death of me. Later, in our third year, junior year of college, I decided to take a year off to start the business. I was worried about her struggling alone, so I took the year off too to be with her. And we struggled. We really did. We were up before dawn every day, scouting locations, setting up the office, chasing investors, hiring employees, handing out flyers, and hustling for clients. I didn't know anything about business. I had zero talent for it. All I could do was be there for her, doing the grunt work. We'd work late into the night, and I'd have to practically drag her to the makeshift bed we'd laid out on the floor, just so she'd get some sleep. She loved lying next to me, resting her head on my stomach. I wasn't fat, but I had a little bit of a gut, and it made a pretty comfortable pillow for her. Even in her sleep, she wasn't quiet, making those little whimpering sounds like a cute animal. If I stroked her hair, she'd respond even while sleeping. We kept this up for 6 months before things finally started to turn around. In the middle of it all, I sank my entire life savings into the company. The whole $3 million. My nest egg. It hurt to even think about, but then Chloe would kiss me a couple of times, and the pain would just vanish. Her happiness was all that mattered. What's the point of having a lot of money anyway? It's just currency. You can't take it with you when you die. And if you live like a miser, what's the point? As long as you have enough to live on, that's all that matters. We spent the first 6 months building a solid foundation, and in the second half of the year, the business took off. Our profits jumped from tens of thousands to millions. The next year, it hit 8 figures. Chloe became a millionaire before she even graduated college, and I, by association, became a millionaire's boyfriend. She even tried to transfer half her shares in the company to me, but I refused. All I wanted was my original investment back so I could use it to marry her one day. Using her money to marry her just felt weird. For this, I got another lecture. I swear I'll never understand her. "Grandpa, what happened next?" I leaned back in my soft armchair, lost in the memories of the past. What happened next? Well, after we graduated from college, I proposed to her. We got our marriage license soon after. I'll never forget the moment I slid the wedding ring onto her finger. Chloe just broke down sobbing like a child. This strong, resilient girl. She hadn't cried through all the hardships of her childhood. She hadn't cried through the struggles of building a business from scratch, but here, in a moment of pure happiness that was all her own, she finally let herself weep. All the pain and sorrow, the bitterness, the struggle, it all ended with that flood of tears. She shed her last tear of sadness and her first tear of joy. I didn't cry. That would have been embarrassing. Okay, fine. Maybe I just got a little dust in my eyes. Time kept moving. Soon, we had our own house. We had beautiful wedding photos on the wall. We had the product of our love, our children. Slowly, the kids grew up. We grew old. Our backs began to stoop. Time wore away so many things, but it could never fade a love as true as ours. Even on her deathbed, she held my hand in a vice grip, terrified of me leaving, even for a second. In my eyes, she was always that little girl who never grew up. The one who followed me around, begging for treats, even when her face was etched with wrinkles, even when time had stripped away her youthful beauty, even when she was so old that she spoke in the babbling whispers of a newborn, her words no longer clear. What did any of that matter? She still loved to curl up in my arms. I would close my eyes and listen with my heart to the deep, endless love in her murmurs, and just like that, bathed in the soft sunlight, our fingers intertwined, she passed into the twilight of her life with a smile that was a little shy but filled with absolute happiness. So I put on a serious face and said to my granddaughter, in the depths of my memory, there's a wedding photo that will never fade. It will always shine brightly, my dear child. Don't let materialism or insecurity blind you. Take my blessing and go taste the sweetness of love for yourself. Oh, and by the way, I added, be careful. Don't let some punk with a fast car sweep you off your feet. That's the same thing Grandma used to say. Grandpa, you're such a dork.